Welcome to the Arts at ODU Summer Series. I'm Cullen Strawn, Executive Director for the Arts at Old Dominion University. The Summer Series was developed to facilitate community connections through free and accessible programming, to highlight the strength and resilience of the arts, and to lift spirits during this challenging time. The ODU community submitted proposals for programs, and this afternoon we conclude the series with a program entitled Music of the Mayflower, Reconstructing and Performing Communal Music During a Time of Physical Isolation. Bianca Hall serves as lecturer of early music at ODU and director of the Madrigal Singers and Collegium Musicum Ensemble. Today she demonstrates the resilience of individuals, including those who braved a voyage across the Atlantic and those who today continue finding ways of connecting with others near and far. Thank you, Bianca.
Thank you, Cullen, and thank you to Arts at ODU, the Office of Community Engagement, and the College of Arts and Letters for the opportunity to present this program today. On September 16, 1620, the Mayflower, with 102 passengers and about 30 crew, left Plymouth, England for America. It took 66 days to cross the Atlantic, and they experienced harsh winter storms that were so bad that the sails often could not be used, and instead they simply drifted, leading many aboard to experience long bouts of seasickness. There was almost certainly music being played, sung, and danced to aboard the ship during the journey, but for this presentation, we'll be featuring music from 3 books that are believed to have been brought on the Mayflower by one of the passengers, Elder William Brewster, an English separatist who, along with other separatists on the ship, was escaping religious intolerance. 2 of the books, one by Henry Ainsworth and the other by Richard Allison, contains sacred music intended for worship. And the 3rd book, entitled The Golden Garland of Princely Pleasures, contains popular ballads collected by Richard Johnson. To round out the program, we've also included 2 pieces that refer to mariners or the sea, the first by the celebrated English composer John Doland, and lastly, a round that you could imagine would have been sung by mariners on a boat enjoying some beers after successfully navigating treacherous waters. Those on the Mayflower experienced 66 days of communal isolation. Now in 2020, we find ourselves navigating through a different sort of isolation and physical separation, which is being experienced simultaneously as both a personal and a societal journey. However, unlike those on the Mayflower, we are able to, through the use of technology, create and maintain a sense of community while physically distant. This presentation is intended as a reflection on and a product of both separation and community. At the end of the video, I will be happy to respond to questions which can be submitted via the Q&A feature in Zoom.
Confessie to Jehovah thankfully, for he is good, forever his mercy. Let the redeemed of Jehovah say, whom he from foes and hath redeemed away, and gather them out of the land's day, from east, from west, from north, and from the sea.
They that in ships unto the sea down go, that in the many waters labor do, they say Jehovah's operations, and in the deep his wondrous actions. For he saith and doth raise the wind stormy, and it doth lift the waves thereof on air. The stormy to a silent calm doth set, and then their waves allayed are quiet, and they rejoice because they are made still, and he them leads to heaven of their will. Confess they to Jehovah his mercy, his marvels ache to sons of man earthly.
And poor from poverty makes uprise, and putteth as afloat his families. Seashore the righteous and joyful bay, and stop her mouth shall all iniquity. Who wise is and will these things heedful learn, and they Jehovah's mercy shall discern.
O Lord of hosts, amiable are places wherein thou dost dwell. My soul doth long and faint also, ere for the courts of Jehovah my heart and my flesh show to thee, to come the living God unto. Yea, the sparrow and owls find death, and swallow nest where she layeth. Her young ones thine altars of Yah, of us my King and deck my God, they that in thine house have abode are blessed, they still praise thee, Salah. Blessed is the man whose strength thou art, they that thy ways are in their art, that passing through the back of vale, do put him for a welling stream, with blessings that rain covereth them. From power to power proceed they shall, to God in Zion shall appear. Lord God of hosts, my prayer hear. Give ear on Jacob's God, Selah. O our shielding protection, say thou on God, and look upon face of thy anointed Messiah.
It's been very difficult to stay motivated in the COVID-19 age. I get most of my energy from performing live with others, interacting with them, and responding to what others are doing. And whoever said non-verbal communication is the most important form of communication really should have been talking about music, because you can see vowels or hear vowels and see when people are starting or ending phrases or crescendoing or decrescendoing. All of this is sort of picked up by singers live in the moment, and trying to do this in a Zoom format is very artificial and very kind of robotic, so that has involved a great deal of adjustment for me.
Creating recorded projects, especially asynchronous ones, requires a slightly different but certainly related skill set to performing live and in real time. It's a challenge to make these sorts of performances feel natural and organic and not too artificial or too robotic. It requires a lot of forethought and clear ideas and plans and consistency, because you find yourself doing multiple takes, often on different days. It's a pretty long and labor-intensive process, but it was definitely a rewarding one and a creative one. and a stimulating one that really was collaborative. Even though we were separate, we really did feel like a team or like an ensemble.
And I miss performing live for people, but we have been able to connect with musicians across the country that we hadn't seen for a while, and now we can create music together. Through the internet, through sending files and everything, and that's actually been special in its own way. I miss doing it in person with all of them, and I'm sure they do too. I think we all do, but right now it's just so incredible that we can still create music in this other format, in this virtual online format together.
Lamenting sore is sinful life before thy mercy gate, which gate thou openest wide to those that do lament their sin. Shut not that gate against me, Lord, but let me enter in. O Lord, thou knowest what things be past, and eke the things that be. Thou knowest also what is to come. Nothing is hid from thee. So come I to thy mercy gate, where mercy doth abound, requiring mercy for my sins, to heal my deadly wound. Our Father, which in heaven art, Lord, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth, even as the same in heaven is. Give us, O Lord, our daily bread this day, as we forgive our debtors, so forgive our debts, we pray. Into temptation lead us not, from evil make us free. For kingdom, power, and glory thine, both now and ever be.
This period has enabled collaboration with musicians I haven't been in contact with for many years, and that's been a very positive outcome of this. I definitely miss performing, the preparation and excitement of performing live. I miss communicating with the audience as well, and hearing about their unique experience with music.
As a parish music director working on digital music platforms instead of the normal mass and rehearsal settings, performances, concerts, has been the biggest challenge I think I've had in my musical life, because the skill sets have changed dramatically, and they changed so fully in a matter of just a few weeks. I really look forward to fall because everything I'm going to be doing with my students is going to be online. It's a brand new vista, and I have a lot of ideas, and I'm really eager to try them out.
Now, shepherd, what means that? Why wear'st thou willow in thy hat? Why are thy scarves of red and yellow turned to branches of green willow? They are changed, and so am I. Sorrow lives, but pleasure dies. She hath now forsaken me, which makes me wear the willow train. What, that Phyllis loved thee long, is that the last hath done thee wrong? She that loved thee long and best, is her love turned to a jest? She that loved thee long and best, also misset my heart at rest. For she a new love loves not May, that makes May wear the willow train. Come then, shepherd, let us join, since thy up is like to mine. For the white I thought most true, now hath changed me for anew. Well then, since thy up is so, take no care, but let him go. Thy art up doth mine apace, company doth sorrow's ace. Then I will forget her love, since wantonly she false will prove, and for her sake bid all adieu. For seldom women do prove true, now for her sake I'll sit and pine. For she was once a love of mine, which shall ne'er forgotten be, though I wear the willow train. Herdsmen be advised by May, cost of grape and willow tray, for her grief breeds her content, for she is pleased if thou lament. Then I will be ruled by thee, here lies grape and willow tray, henceforth I will do as they, and love a new love every day.
Disdain me still, that I may ever love. For who is loved enjoys can love no more. The war once past, with ace men cowards prove, and ships return not upon the shore, and thou from frown, I'll say thou art most fair, and still thy sighs, nor tears thy virtue move. Like baser metals do not melt too soon. Laugh at my woes, although I am thy moon, evermore success with Lord is scorn. Laugh at my woes, although I am thy moon, evermore success The wind blows out of the west, thou gentle mariner. Look to the loof well, beware the lay still, for deadly rocks do now appear. Look to thy tack, let bowling go slack, so shall we 'scape them and go clear. Terraton, terror, stir well thy corsair, the wind waxeth large, the sheets do thou there. Go fill the can, give us some bear, I'll drink thee, I'll bring thee thy mates, what cheer. The wind blows out of the west, thou gentle mariner. Look to the loof well, beware the lay still, for deadly rocks do now appear. Look to thy tack, let bowling go slack, so shall we 'scape them and go clear. Terraton, terror, stir well thy corsair, the wind waxeth large, the sheets do thou there. Go fill the can, give us some bear, I'll drink thee, I'll bring thee thy mates, what cheer. The wind blows out of the west, thou gentle mariner. Look to the loof well, beware the lay still, for deadly rocks do now appear. Look to thy tack, let bowling go slack, so shall we 'scape them and go clear. Terraton, terror, stir well thy corsair, the wind waxeth large, the sheets do thou there. Go fill the can, give us some bear, I'll drink thee, I'll bring thee my mates, what cheer.
Terraton, terror, stir well thy corsair, the wind waxeth large, the sheets that we wear. Go fill and give us some bear, I'll drink thee, I'll bring thee my mates, what cheer.
Look to thy tack, let bowling go slack, so shall we 'scape them and go clear. Terraton, terror, stir well thy corsair, the wind waxeth large, the sheets do thou there. Go fill the can, give us some bear, I'll drink thee, I'll bring thee my mates, what cheer.
Well, I'd like to thank my collaborators, Joel, Sandy, Will, and Jason, for donating their time and energy to this project. Again, if you have questions, please type them into the Q&A feature in Zoom. And before I start answering some of the questions, I just want to reiterate a couple of things and just give you a little bit of perspective on how this all kind of went. So again, this is just a very small sampling of the kind of music that was happening at this time. early 17th century in America, and also a small sampling of what might have been happening on board the ship and with those traveling on the Mayflower. There would have been functional music, like the first couple of sets that you saw with music for religious purposes, for ceremonies. There would have been recreational music, music for dancing, so all kinds of music would be happening. And that's true of those coming to America, those immigrating to America, and those native, those who were already here. So that was one thing that we wanted to explore with this project, some new repertoire that we weren't familiar with. Another thing that we wanted to explore was how to make music in this age of COVID. We all were basically using what we already had, any equipment we already had, microphones, software we already had. We wanted to see what we could do with that. And then beyond that, thinking ahead to whatever we needed to do in the fall, what we might purchase or skills we might acquire beyond that. Let me actually look at a couple of the questions here. So one question, how did you get all that reverb? You appear to be sitting in your living room at home, yet it sounds like you're in a gigantic cathedral. Good question. So in terms of the quartet pieces, most of those you might have heard a lot of that reverb. We obviously were all in different locations recording ourselves singing. So what we tried to do was create as dry an original raw recording of ourselves as we could. I personally stuck my microphone on my bookshelf right there and sang into my bookcase. I kind of pulled different books in and out to kind of deaden the room sound. I have hardwood floors throughout my house. So in order to blend all of our different parts together, we wanted as kind of dead a sound as possible. Joel took all of our raw recordings, mixed them together, and we experimented with different amounts of reverb. One of the pieces, the lamentation in the middle, had a drier sound. It might have been a little bit more what you might have heard if we'd sung in a smaller room together. But then he also took the reverb you would hear in Disney Concert Hall in Los Angeles and applied that. So most of what you heard was that kind of a reverb. So it was artificially applied to our mix. Let's see. Is there a PDF program of music selections? No, at the moment, but I could certainly make one. In terms of the process that we did, I went to these different books, these different collections, sifted through them. Luckily, because during COVID, all the libraries were shut down. All of this music was digitized, so I was able to download it, sift through it, choose pieces, and then I created my own modern transcriptions from the original scores. The original music you saw displayed on the screen. I made modern transcriptions. We made MIDI tracks from those. Joel took those MIDI tracks, he turned them into click tracks, so he applied a metronome to it. Then I actually recorded myself speaking the text with this earlier historical pronunciation called original pronunciation, or OP. Joel actually recorded himself onto the click track so that we could all try to match vowels to him. Because again, if we'd been doing this live, we would all be kind of doing that naturally. We could discuss it. But because we're doing it all at different times in different locations, we needed some way of kind of trying to match each other. So that's how we went about doing that. And so we recorded all those. Joel took all those, mixed them together. We actually did, you might have noticed, record our audio separate from our video. That's one way to do it for the parts or the pieces with the quartet. That's how we did it. We did that for a couple of reasons. One was to try to get as best an audio quality as we could. So again, I'm singing into my bookcase. You don't want to watch me doing that. I couldn't have put my iPad, which is what I used for the video, in a good place to get a good video. So we did the video separate. Also for me personally, because I have a young child at home, I tended to record the audio after she went to bed at night. Also after all the neighbors were done with their lawns and their yard work and everything. And then I would record the video during the day with a little bit more natural light. So just for flexibility, that's why we went about doing it this particular way. However, when I did the duet with Jason recorded his part. I gave him a metronome number. He recorded his part, and then I sang to it. So that's how we did that one. And then with my self-duet, the one with the split screen, I had a click track in my own ear, and then I was following the text of the part that I wasn't singing so that I could kind of make sure that they lined up. So that we did different ways of creating these multi-tracked pieces. Let me get back to some questions here. The last piece, The Wind Blows Out of the West, appears to be a sea shanty as well as a round. Where does it come from, and does it have a known composer? It actually comes from a collection. The collection was put together by Thomas Ravenscroft. The composer is anonymous, but in that collection he has a lot of rounds different subjects, and he collected them and put them all together. So it's very possible that it could have been a sea shanty. I don't know for sure if it was, but that's what the collection it came from. It was the collection is called Pamela by Thomas Ravenscroft. What did you use as a template in order for everyone to be able to sing together? So yeah, there was a click track. Again, I created a MIDI file from the modern transcription. I created a transcription in the software called Sibelius, pulled a MIDI track out of that. That was put into a digital audio workshop, a DAW, that Joel was using. He put a metronome, a click to it. He also did keep the MIDI behind it so we could hear our parts all together. And then again, he did record his own part so that we could kind of try to match his vowels. At what pitch did we use for these pieces? We did do these at A equals 415, which is about a half step lower than modern pitch, what you would hear a piano played. In terms of, was there a standard pitch level at the time? I'm not 100% sure. If you're not aware, if you're interested in pitch levels and the whole history of that, there's a whole book called The History of A, which goes into what we know about pitch levels at different times and in different locations, because there really wasn't a standard until more recently. A equal 440 hertz is the current standard, although that even kind of varies slightly from location to location. Some people use A 442, 440, so even today there's a little bit of variation. Are you all instructors, or are some of you students? Kind of a combination. So most of us know each other from the University of Southern California in Los Angeles. I did my doctorate there. Joel is completing his doctorate there. Jason completed his doctorate and is now an instructor there as well. Will was also doing his PhD in musicology there. So that's where those of us met. And then Sandy, I met by performing. She had a quartet that I joined in Orange County in Southern California. So we are currently all instructors at different places. Will teaches, actually he teaches philosophy at California State University in Fullerton. I teach here at ODU. Joel does a lot of private teaching voice students, and then he gigs all over Los Angeles. And again, he's completing his doctorate. Sandy has relocated to Ohio, where she's the music director at a Catholic church, and then also is associated with the school there as well. I want to thank you all for attending this program. Although I can't see you, I certainly appreciate your presence. I hope that we can all return to live performances soon and experience communal music making again face to face. In the meantime, I wish you all the best. And now I'll turn it back over to Cullen Strawn for some closing remarks.
We hope you've enjoyed the Arts at ODU Summer Series, featuring visual, literary, and performing arts, and co-presented by the Office of Community Engagement and the College of Arts and Letters at Old Dominion University. To view recordings of the programs, please check ODU Arts on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and follow us for updates on additional programming announced throughout the year. Please stay safe, and thank you for joining us.